It's me, Zero C Circ, bringing you yet another frustration conversation. Now, for the past 5 or 6 months, I've had a lot of time to think. A lot of time, actually. And that one thing they did. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about Resident Evil 4. And why I think it sucks. Why I think it's absolute sewage water. Yeah. Resident Evil 4 started the downfall what people say 5 and 6 were. I say 5 and 6 are fine. Now, early on, I'm going to say this. I might ramble. You know what? Let me rephrase that. I'm definitely going to ramble, okay? Alright, that's just a given. I say this is a series in which I rant and ramble about a topic. Anyway, Resident Evil 4 started the downfall what people say 5 and 6, are. I say 5 and 6 are fine. Alright, they're good games. Alright, they're alright games. I don't say why people say, oh, 6 is the absolute worst. No, 4 is the absolute worst. Do you know how bad 4 is? Alright, let's say it like this. Resident Evil 1, right? You're walking in this hallway. You go to this room. You gotta find a broken shotgun. You put the shotgun onto the, wall. And then you take the other shotgun off, right? You got yourself a brand new shotgun. Resident Evil 4. Oh, what are you buying? And then you go, oh yeah, I want that shotgun right there. Then, oh, you got yourself a shotgun. Do you see how stupid that is? Resident Evil 2. Right? You go to this locker, right? And you go, oh, there's a pouch right here and a Uzi right there. I can take one of these and leave the other for Leon. And then you'd be like, or you leave the other for Claire. Then you'd be like, oh, let me take that pouch. Yeah, let me take that pouch. Get more inventory spaces. And then, Resident Evil 4, oh, what are you buying? Oh, yeah, let me get that, that chest right there, that, attache. Attache. And then you get the, the case. And it's like, oh, bigger space. Basically, Resident Evil 4, you can buy stuff. And that really is dumb. Oh man, that's incredibly dumb. And guess what, guys? They took that out in 6. Yeah, they didn't take it out in 5. But, hey, they took it out in 6. Anyway, basically, that's just a little thing that irks me in that game. Yeah, the what are you buying guy is kind of funny, but it kind of really messes up the flow of the game. It's Resident Evil, it's survival horror, not, hey, you want to buy stuff here? Yeah, let me open my shirt and flash you for a second. So let me get into it. That was just a little tangent there, but here we go. Resident Evil 4, there's no zombies in the game. Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, 0, Remake, Code Veronica, Outbreak, Dead Aim, Survivor. They all had zombies. T-Virus, zombies. Zombies. Resident Evil 4, guess what it had? Oh, Las Plagas Ganado European people. Villagers with axes. Oh, you know what? They're not biting you. They're not trying to eat you. They're just trying to axe you and pitchfork you and torch you and dynamite you and chainsaw you and Vega spike you. You know those monsters with the iron cages on their face with their eyes stitched closed with those Vega claws or Voldo claws, whichever one you will. Those are not zombies. Zombies! Alright, another thing about Resident Evil 4. The over-the-shoulder camera. And people get mad at 5 and 6. Oh, where's the classic Resident Evil at? These games are too action-oriented. Well, you know what game started that? That one game you give a lot of praise to. Oh, yeah, Resident Evil 4. What was Resident Evil 4 like? Oh, I remember a laser sight and, oh yeah, over-the-shoulder camera and crosshairs. Oh yeah, I remember that too. If you didn't want the laser, you could have those good old crosshairs. Yeah, over-the-shoulder, actiony, shooter type. Yeah, you could get on this boat and pitchfork this giant parasite sea monster. Yeah, Resident Evil. Yeah, going to castles, killing cult members. Yeah, Resident Evil. Killing this Napoleon-looking short guy who turns into a giant wall monster. Yeah. Like, come on. Going to this prison island, fighting, rakes? They're basically, the creepypasta the rake. Those monsters are on this prison island. I forgot what they're called. I think they're like executioners. Man, I forgot what they're called. Oh, regenerators. They're called regenerators. And you have to shoot them with a thermal sniper rifle. You didn't have sniper rifles in Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, 0. Well, you probably had it in Dead Aim. Or Survivor. No, probably not in Survivor. But anyway, you kill regenerators. Yeah! Then you go and fight a giant spider monster that has an eyeball coming out of its mouth. Yeah! Resident Evil 4, the best game. 10 out of 10. Says IGN. Says Game Informer. Says Games Radar. Says GameSpot. Says, I don't know. Says Dove Soap. 10 out of 10. Best game. 2 thumbs up. Spider monsters. Wait. What? Oh my god, I'm going. Ganados. What is it? Las Plagas. Yeah, Resident Evil 4. Yeah, that's Resident Evil 4. I just explained everything to you. You go to this, alright, you're playing as Leon S. Kennedy, rescuing the president's daughter, Ashley Graham. You go to this village, you ask this dude, hey, you seeing this girl in this picture? He's like, I don't know, I'm gonna axe you now. Then he tries to axe it, you kill him. You go to this village and sees one of the cops stuck on a pitchfork in the fire. Then like, oh man, this town's crazy. Then you leave the town, there's a chainsaw guy who tries to kill you, you leave the town, junk happens, you fight this giant sea monster, and it's like, oh geez, man, I'm infected, look at my veins and all this junk. How did this happen? Then you see What Are You Buying guy a couple of times. Then you fight with Louise Sarah in this cabin. You fight like 2 giant dudes, El Gigante. Then you go to this castle and fight cult members. Then you fight what's his face, right hand man as he calls it. And then you fight him fused with its left hand man. Then you see Ada Wong. Then you go to this prison island, and then you fight. You do a whole bunch of junk. Fight your best old buddy, unknown, because you don't know who he is, Jack Krauser. And let me mention, Jack Krauser has a giant spike arm. Yeah. And then you kill him, blah, 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 some junk happens. Then you fight a big old buddy Salazar, who's a giant spider monster with eyes coming out of his mouth. And then you speedboat on out, end game. That's Resident Evil 4. Yeah. And then you say Resident Evil 5 and 6 are garbage. People criticize 5 and 6, saying, oh, Resident Evil 5, all you do is shoot black people in Africa. Which is kinda true. There are other enemy types. There are other monster types. Oh, the story's crazy. What's this, parasite junk? Well, do you know what started the parasite junk? Oh yeah, Resident Evil 4 with its Las Plagas junk. But anyway, the enemies in Resident Evil 5, the black people or whatever, the village members, they call them a genie, alright? Yeah, they're called them a genie. It's basically the same thing as Resident Evil 4 people, the Ganados, or the parasites, Las Plagas, but it's like a little more mutated. It's like a Las Plagas version 2. But, blah, 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 junk happens in that game. It's fine. Yeah, there's a giant... It's basically doing everything 4 did without the cult members. Yeah, it had Wesker in it. Wesker, a game from Resident Evil 1 in 3, not 3, 1 in, Code Veronica and all that junk. It had a Resident Evil character and it didn't have this random cult member, Salazar. Or Salvador, whatever his name was, Salazar. I say that game is way better than 4. They're like, oh, Resident Evil 5, it has co-op. That takes away from the scare factor and all this junk. Like, then again, yeah, in the early E3 trailer, it showed Chris walking around the early town section of the game by himself. But I think having the other player there, it's not that bad. It doesn't really... It's fine, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't take away anything. It doesn't add anything. It's fine. I'm just trying to think if there's any flaws. It basically did the same thing as 4 did. There's a giant sea monster. There's different areas. There's no cult members. There's no what are you buying guy. Like when you beat a chapter, you go to like this random store. There's no guy there. It just brings you to this store which you could buy junk. I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's a big guy, an El Gigante type enemy. Blah, blah, blah. You fight Wesker in a volcano. That's kind of weird. There's Ouroboros. Okay, that's fine. I'm just going through the game in my head. Alright, Resident Evil 6. Let's see how we can criticize this and how... It's fine. But, let's see. Resident Evil 6, there's 4 different campaigns. There's Chris and Piers, Sherry and Jake, Helena and Leon, then there's Ada, and then they patched it and threw an agent in there because, you know what, co-op. Ada was solo, but blah, blah, blah. So, well, if you play with one player, there's no agent there, actually. Anyway, let's see. Story-wise. Let's go story by story. Chris and Piers. Blah, blah, blah. That happens. I'm just thinking. Basically, let's look at the endings, because people always talk about that. Chris and Piers, you fight this giant skeleton goo monster in this underwater base in which Piers gets his arm cut off, gets infects himself, gets a giant spike arm, and then sacrifices himself in the underwater base. Okay. Jake and Sherry, I think you fight the thing that's been chasing you the whole campaign, actually. I forgot how Jake and Sherry's ended. And then Leon and Helena's, you fight a giant skeleton dinosaur guy. Alright, he's a guy that infects himself and becomes a giant skeleton dinosaur that you fight in a museum in a helicopter. Now, if that's not the boss fight that you've heard of, you gotta be crazy. I'd rather fight a guy that turns into a bone dinosaur and shoot him with a helicopter than kill a giant spider guy with an eye coming. What sounds more fantastical and more boss? A guy that actually turns into a dinosaur at will. A giant skeleton dinosaur. Or a spider guy. Yeah. And then Ada's last boss is basically the same guy because she's also there. Either way, I'd say Resident Evil 6 is fine. I actually don't know why people hate it. Story-wise, it's actually fine. There's different enemy types. With the C virus, zombies come back. Hey, there's zombies in Resident Evil. Who knew this would happen? Oh my god, Resident Evil has zombies? Man, I thought it was just going to have parasite monsters. Then again, in Chris's and Sherry and Jake's, and also in Ada's campaign, the Havo, as they call it, J''AVO. By the way, I was rambling for a while there. Wasn't exactly knowing what I was saying. Anyway, the Havo are even more buffed up Las Plagas monsters / Ouroboros. Yeah, that. Anyway, it's fine. The story's alright. Jake is Wesker's son and he's the cure and blah blah blah. It's fine. But if people come out and say, hey, Resident Evil 5 and 6, man, those games were bad, I want you to go back, man. Let me get it a little closer. I want you to go back. Take off your nostalgia blinding goggles, alright? There are some heavy-duty goggles. Like these goggles here put on such a nostalgia feature that you would think Mario Brothers look good. Man, you are heavily indoctrinated with those goggles. Anyway, take off those heavy nostalgia goggles. Go back, sit down in front of your PlayStation 2 or Xbox 360 or GameCube. Put in your Resident Evil 4. Play through it. One sitting. One sitting. You got to take it all in one sitting. Play through it. Take it all in. Listen to the dialogue. Look at the gameplay. Look at the cutscenes. Look at the story. Look at the enemies. Look at the store feature. Look at the treasure feature. Take it all in. Come back to this video. Go to the comments and tell me what you think. Because trust me, that game isn't as good as you think it is. It's not as good as you remember it is. Alright? It's an alright game. But in relation to 5 and 6, go back and play. Go back and play 4. And then think what of this game is in 5 and 6. Trust me, you'll be like, oh man, that's kind of, whoo, man, that parasite monsters, yeah, and then like these giant Vega Claw dudes, and then regenerators, man, what was that about? Resident Evil 4 is not good. The end. So, in conclusion, thanks for watching if you're watching. Thanks for listening if you're listening. I'm Zero C Circ, your unimaginably gracious host. And this is Frustration Conversation. Now, hopefully they don't find me here. But, as for now, I'll say what I always say. Bye!